And this is a 2023 Toyota Tacoma, four-wheel drive, top-of-the-line TRD.
That's not a top-of-the-line TRD, it's just a TRD off-road package, Scotty. In honor of the king of clickbait and overly dramatic titles, I had to do it. I've noticed that a lot of my viewers also happen to watch Scotty Kilmer videos, and this dude has nearly 6 million subscribers on YouTube, so he's either a genius or he got incredibly lucky. You see, according to all the YouTube gurus on here that teach you how to build a channel, he's doing everything wrong. And yet somehow he's created this huge audience for himself. So, did Canadian Butthead just pick a beef with one of the biggest automotive YouTubers on here? Well, no, not really. When it comes to his views about Toyotas being the greatest vehicles out there, obviously I share the same opinion. Now I have to admit that I personally never really followed him myself until recently, and when I sat down to watch a bunch of his videos, I did notice that there's something that I have to respectfully disagree with. In this video, Scotty goes off on how he thinks the new era of Toyota trucks are junk, and quite frankly, I think he's wrong. So let's dive into the video and just kind of break it down. What I see is a little bit flawed here.
If you ask any truck guy, they'll tell you Toyota screwed up when they took the V8 out of the Tundra and put the V6 twin turbo.
Okay, that's fair, but don't get mad at Toyota. It's not Toyota's fault that they're moving towards smaller turbo engines and hybrids. Blame the government. The government has mandated that every automaker has to have a certain average miles per gallon rating across their whole lineup. And actually recently Biden has said that he wants that average to be 58 miles per gallon, which is like, how are these companies supposed to do that? So unfortunately, small turbo engines, hybrids, and EVs are really the only realistic way to meet that goal right now. I truly believe that if it was up to Toyota themselves, they would just continue to keep developing their simple, larger displacement engines like the 4-liter V6 and the 5.7 V8. This was kind of forced on them.
Guy brought me one of the twin turbo V6s in the Tundra, and it was even a hybrid. He only got 19 miles a gallon on the highway. So much for great gas mileage. Not only was it the twin turbo, but it was a hybrid. It still got crap gas mileage. So that's just a stupid idea.
The thing with turbocharged engines is that the efficiency of them heavily depends on how they're driven. So if you're driving it off boost, you're gonna get amazing fuel economy. And if you've got a heavy foot and you're constantly spooling the turbos up, then yeah, of course you're gonna be drinking gas like crazy. Now, how do you think the manufacturers are driving these things when they're testing them for their MPG ratings? Do you really think they're driving around like a hot rod like majority of people do? Or are they babying these things around town and then people are like, oh, I can't get the same gas mileage that was recommended? That's probably why.
This puts out a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque. People get these to go off-road. They get them to tow boats, pull heavy trailers, throw a bunch of crap in the back.
It's funny that he's using a third-gen Tacoma as the example of like the perfect truck right now, because these things are not exactly known for having big horsepower and impressive numbers on paper.
Now, when you're pulling the boat in or out or towing stuff, you really want to be revving your engine way up to get it going. And in most cases, Americans drive 96% automatic transmissions. You can't really rev it up like with a standard transmission, right?
Since when can you not shift an automatic transmission into first or second and keep it there?
You don't spend this kind of money on a pickup truck to get yourself a dog.
And yet the Tacoma from the first, second, and third generations, they've kind of always been considered dogs. Nobody has ever considered one of these trucks to be like lightning quick or like impressive in a straight line. That's sort of what the Tacoma has been known for.
But if you're going to buy a TRD, you want a bigger engine in it. Just like, to go even further, as I said before, you want a Tundra. The guys really wanted V8s. They didn't want a V6 engine.
Well, if that's the case, Scotty, then where's your video saying that Toyota should have put the 4.7 V8 in the Tacoma this whole time? Because this V6 that you're using as an example as the great engine, in comparison to this, is crap.
You're going to buy something like a Ford Maverick pickup truck, yeah, they cost a ton less, right? They don't have the power, and they certainly don't have the long life that Toyotas historically have.
Yes, Toyotas historically have a long life. That nobody is going to argue that one. And let's remember, just because automakers are really big on this whole 4-cylinder turbo thing right now, this isn't the first time. Does anybody remember the 80s and 90s? Some of you young whippersnappers probably don't. Should we talk about the success of the WRC team and all of the engineering that went into the 3S GT engine, like in my MR2 here? Should we mention that arguably the most legendary turbocharged engine ever created was made by Toyota? It's the 2JZ, by the way. And I understand the fear about these overcomplicated engines, the turbo engines, the hybrids. Toyota's got it covered. I think Toyota knows how to make modern technology be reliable. Now, I'll admit, I too was a little bit skeptical about all the hybrid stuff going on with the new Toyota trucks. But let's remember that original first-gen Toyota Prius. That, as far as I know, that was some of the first hybrid technology that was out there. And those first-gen Prii, I don't know. They're still out there racking up like hundreds of thousands of miles on them, and they're super reliable. So if anybody knows how to make a turbocharged four-cylinder reliable, it's Toyota. If anybody knows how to make a hybrid engine reliable, it's Toyota.
Guess what? The Turbo 4 is going to wear out faster. You put a smaller engine in the same size truck, it's not going to last as long.
Well, I think that's debatable, and again, that comes back to how you drive the vehicle, because yes, when you're operating under full boost, then your engine is under more strain, of course. But with a turbocharged engine, you also have that opportunity to be driving off boost, which is when the engine is making a fraction of the horsepower that it's made for. So if you're just puttering along on the highway, driving 24 hours down to Florida, if you're not boosting and driving like crazy, passing people all the time, your engine has very little strain on it. It's basically acting like a naturally aspirated engine, and it's operating at a percentage of what it's actually engineered to be able to handle.
Maybe you want your gas mileage ratings to go better for the EPA. Well, sell smaller four-cylinder versions. But when you got your top-of-the-line Tacoma TRD, don't water it down in order to appease government bureaucrats.
But how is it watered down? Have you seen the torque numbers of this new turbocharged four-cylinder, especially the hybrid? You are not getting anywhere near those numbers with the 4-liter V6, the 3.5 V6. Any engine that has ever been in a Tacoma has not come even remotely close to the numbers that these new Turbo 4s are making.
This is the kind of idiots that work at the dealerships that are crooked, dishonest.
Okay, Scotty, calm down, dude. You're gonna blow a gasket.
So, think twice before you buy one of these warranties if you've got a four-wheel drive vehicle. $1,000 is $1,000, and when they don't do what they're supposed to do, hey, don't buy such things.
First of all, this video isn't about tire warranties, but also, if you spend $1,000 on a tire warranty, you should know better. You just replace a full set of tires if you have to for almost $1,000, man. Come on.
For a truck this size, four-wheel drive, that's great gas mileage. It says you get 16, 18 in town, which is typical what you're going to get. But on the highway, hey, 30 is really good gas mileage because Toyota Dynamic Force V6.
30 mpgs on the highway? Really? Like, I don't know. You Tacoma owners, comment down below if you think that's actually doable. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that truck is getting 30 miles per gallon on the highway.
The guy with the 2023 Tundra with the V6 twin turbo, he only got 19 miles per gallon on the highway. And this guy's getting 30.
Here's the thing though. In order to get 30 miles per gallon in a Tacoma on the highway, if that's even possible, you're obviously babying it. Now, if you're getting 19 miles per gallon in a Tundra, you're probably not babying it. Like, what if you baby the Tundra? What can you actually get if you hypermile a newer Tundra? I'm curious to know what those comparisons look like.
Ford is probably the only company that's still serious about building big V8 trucks, which a lot of people want.
What? Ford was the one that started this whole mess with the EcoBoost V6s and their F-150s. What are you talking about? They're known for V8s in their trucks.
When we talk about the four-wheel drive, it's all very simple. You can go two-wheel drive, four-wheel low, four-wheel high, just by turning a switch.
He's using the switch for the four-wheel drive as an example of the proper way of doing things. I guarantee you, 20 years ago, when Toyota went from using manual levers to an electronic switch, somebody like Scotty Kilmer would have been whining and crying about there's too many electronic gizmos in here, and now he's bragging about it like it's a good thing.
Toyota, I don't know what you got thinking, but all your other vehicles, they got that monitor sticking up here. Yep. It looks like somebody glued it into the car. This is a nice one. It's right here where you can actually see the thing.
Now that I will agree with you on. I think these big tablets that people are sticking onto the dashboards of these cars look ridiculous.
And he's hanging on. I heard a couple of squeals there before the traction control kicked in, but you can see it's got a lot of pulling power. Probably the last great truck that Toyota's building.
Once again, we're using a third-gen Tacoma as an example of like the perfect pickup truck. Take one look online at how many people are complaining about these things hunting for gears and the performance and the drivability of these things. They don't drive anywhere near decently unless you tune the ECU on them and get them to shift properly. So in that case, I would argue the second gen is the truck that he should be using as an example of when Toyota made good Tacomas.
Not a fan of the turbo, the hybrid, and that's all they're going to have in 2024. They're retiring the 6. It was bad enough that they retired the V8 and the Tundra. Now they're retiring the V6 and this.
I agree. I think they should have kept V6s in the Tacomas and V8s in the Tundras. Like I want a second-gen Tundra because of the 5.7 V8. I don't want one of the brand new Tundras. I'm not a fan of the V6s. But this wasn't Toyota's decision. They didn't want to do this. At least I don't believe so. Another thing worth noting is that the issues that we've all heard about with the turbos on the Tundra engines have pretty much been sorted out as far as I know. According to my friend at Toyota, it was an issue with the standard operating procedure with the team member that actually installs the turbos on the engines. So on the assembly line, they would pick them up by the wastegate because that was the most ergonomically correct way for them to work. And Toyota is big on ergonomics. Not because they care about the employees getting hurt, but because an injured employee is an expensive employee. Trust me, I worked there, I know these things. So essentially what was happening was they were picking the turbos up by the wastegate and they were bending the actuator, and that was causing all these boost creep issues. So they just changed the way that they told the team members to pick up the turbos, and we should be good to go now. I feel like, unfortunately, small turbo 4-cylinder engines and hybrid engines are going to be the norm in pickup trucks and SUVs from this point on. As long as climate change is a thing and the government is going crazy on MPGs and efficiency, stuff like that, I'm afraid this is going to be what the future of trucks looks like. And that is a bummer for me because I do prefer the V6 and I do prefer the V8. And that's why I'm not shopping for one of these brand new trucks. I still own the old dinosaur trucks.